Welcome to Plug and Talk, where we show you behind the scenes of the banking industry. We will be talking about strategy, implementation, cybersecurity, and much more in our new series, Plug and Talk. So today we deep dive into a very interesting and important topic. It's cybersecurity. I have with me Peter Rumpler. He's our group CISO, and I'm happy to have you here.
Hi, Andre. Thank you for having me.
Cybersecurity is a major concern of the banks. How does Plug address this?
Yes, you are right. Yes, there are quite a lot of cyber criminal groups. They are either opportunistic, trying to find the weakest target which they can attack and get some money out of it. Or there are also nation-state sponsored cyber criminal groups just trying to get money for their nation to fight against other nations. For example, we saw quite a lot of attacks against cryptocurrency, and they were quite successful. So yeah, there are of course concerns of financial institutions, also of our clients. And there is also the always present imbalance between the cyber criminals and the security teams, because the cyber criminals need to find only one weak spot which they can exploit and be successful to reach their targets, while we need to secure all our environment to find all the weak spots and ensure that there is none in the final. And from this perspective, I'm happy that Plugin is in the cloud environment, because there are quite a lot of and wide set of security controls which we can really leverage quite easily. They are at our fingertips with a couple of minutes. They could be deployed, and we covered with them quite a lot of risks. It is also important to mention that many of them would be quite difficult to implement on premise, because you don't have the economies of scales there. Of course, they would be quite expensive to deploy, while in the cloud they are provided as a reasonable price. And also worth mentioning is that those services are managed by quite experienced security professionals of the cloud service providers. So if we join together the security experts of the cloud service providers who know how to set up and operate the security controls, and we who know how to set up them and when to deploy the controls, then we can ensure that the financial institution can trust.
So cloud is helping us very much to keep up with the pace of cyber criminality and
Yes.
with the automation of this monitoring and these kind of things, right?
Exactly.
So what specific measures do you have to get in compliance with the industry standards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good decision which was made at the beginning when the plugin was being built was that we will follow the security best practices. We decided to follow the ISO 27001 and 27002 standards, which set the quite wide baseline of security controls which are well known in the industry. And this helps also in being compliant with various other industry standards and regulations, because many of those regulations quite heavily overlap with the ISO controls. And we, as the ISO 27001 certified service provider, already meet those requirements. So there is, of course, in various regulations, there are controls which are on top of the ISO standards controls. But those are then much more easily and much faster implemented, because we don't start from the scratch. We have quite a lot of already implemented. What we also provide is our own SOC 2 Type 2 audit report, the assurance for our clients to show them that our controls are built, designed and built properly and executed effectively over the period of time, so that we also this way help to build the trust which I mentioned in the previous question. That not only we trust, or the financial institutions trust to the cloud service providers like Amazon Web Services, but that also we as a service, software as a service cloud service provider can be trusted by our clients.
Understood. So these standards and certifications help us to keep up with a good security landscape and help us to manage risks, right?
Exactly.
So risk is another topic, right? It stands a bit against all the seamless user experience, and usually it's cost against risk, right? So how do we manage risks?
Many of our controls which we deployed are invisible to end users. And we have implemented controls in the background, like the encryption, for example, which I mentioned. The end user doesn't need to know that the data are encrypted while he's connecting to the application, or that while they are stored, or that we have read many worm type of storage, which protects the data against attacks like ransomware, for example, or even keeps the integrity of the logs secured so that they cannot be modified by the attackers. So they don't know about these background controls, and they just can use the applications which we provide in the plugin. Also, our processes are designed in a way that, for example, the change management is being executed in the out of business hours periods, so that if there is a change which could potentially even lead to some short outage of the service, then it's already all done before the people come to work. Also, we use the high availability setup. In the cloud environment, it's quite easy to have the setup in a way that you have 2 data centers, and in each of them you have one of the pairs of the devices, so that if one is down, then the second availability zone takes the lead and processes the request of the users. And again, this is invisible to the end user. Then if something happens with one of the data centers, then the services seamlessly move to the other one. And this is also, as I said, benefit of cloud service, because we wouldn't have our own data centers in 2 places, because that would be quite expensive. And here again, the economies of scale come into play.
Understood. There is always this battle for the newest thing in security, right?
Yes.
So how can we win, and what is the next thing that we can do in this area to win this fight?
Yes, you are right. There are new types of attacks. There are new threats. We are not yet there, but for example, there is a quantum computing, one of the emerging threats coming. Recent example in a couple of months ago, the Google Willows chip, which is quite effective. It's not comparable with the standard computers which we have, and it poses the risk to data confidentiality or integrity. Let's say it could break all the asymmetric encryption algorithms which we have, the RSA or elliptic curves, and we need to find a way how to manage this risk upfront before this becomes commercially available to cyber criminals, for example. And I'm also happy here that in the cloud service provider, we have already seen that the experts are working on the post-quantum cryptography, and they are already preparing their services to ensure that even if there is a quantum computer or a set or network of quantum computers available to try to breach the confidentiality by cracking the passwords or encryption keys, then we will be already secure, because we will already be migrated to post-quantum computing. And there are threats like artificial intelligence. Of course, that's a double-edged sword. It's very useful, and we also try to use it as much as we can without exposing any confidential information, like even some anomaly detections in the tools which we have, to be able to detect quickly if there is something wrong going on in our environment. But also it could be used by cyber criminals and other adversaries. It could be used by script kiddies or maybe AI kiddies who are just asking the AI service, please write me some malware, and I will send it to my target, and it will exploit the vulnerability, and the script kiddies will get access. So we need also to be prepared and be ready to respond to such attacks, because they could increase in frequency. And from other risks which are not new, let's say, but they are still relevant, like supply chain compromise. The supply chains are getting longer and longer, and we need to ensure that also our subcontractors which we are using or using their services are secure. We need to review their assurance audit reports to ensure that there is nothing wrong with the controls which they claim they have in place. So there are many threats which we need to address. Some of them are really new, like the quantum computing. Some are persistent, let's say, they are not going away, and but that doesn't mean that we do not need to take care of those.
Thank you very much for being here, and thanks for letting me sleep well at night.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you, Andrei.
Thanks. This brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks for watching, thanks to the expert, and see you next time.